Drafting of the treaty. In the aftermath of the war, the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber bore witness to a moment of profound change. Beneath its glistening dome, a historic process was unfolding. Humanity's Ambassador Solane and Veritans' Ambassador Varro were seated across the negotiation table, drafting the terms of peace. "Let's keep this simple," Solane started, his stern gaze locked onto Varro. "We need peace, and we need assurance that such hostilities will not be repeated." Varro nodded in agreement, the defeat still fresh on his face. "We agree. The Veritan Empire has no intention of waging war again." The first point of the treaty stipulated an immediate cessation of all hostilities. This was followed by terms for disarmament and decommissioning of the Veritan military facilities. Each term was discussed, scrutinized, and debated in painstaking detail, ensuring a comprehensive and effective treaty. "Let us not forget the importance of mutual respect," Solane insisted, bringing forth a key point. "We insist that human rights be enshrined in the Galactic Council's constitution. Humans shall not be regarded as lesser beings, neither by Veritans nor any other species in this council." Varro, despite his race's recent defeat, acknowledged this demand. "Respect begets peace. We are ready to make this commitment," he agreed. Negotiations continued for days, with delegates working tirelessly. Talks were interspersed with moments of heated discussions and tranquil consensus, all under the watchful eyes of the galactic community. "We also propose a policy of integration between humans and Veritans," Solane proposed one day. A murmur ran through the chamber. "We believe it would create a deeper understanding between our species and foster lasting peace." Varro looked thoughtful at this proposition, his eyes betraying his inner contemplation. After a moment of silence, he nodded. "This proposal has merit. We will consider it in our discussions." As the sessions wore on, Solane and Varro, once bitter adversaries, were now crafting a shared path to peace. Despite their contrasting backgrounds, they found common ground in their mutual desire for harmony. Their discussions, punctuated with diplomatic tact and mutual respect, were slowly forming the bedrock of a new era. Meanwhile, back on New Terra, news of the negotiations spread, stirring a mix of hope and skepticism among the populace. Similarly, across the galaxies in Veritan territories, there was an air of cautious optimism. Citizens, soldiers, and politicians alike held their breath, anticipating the future of their interstellar relations. In the end, the Treaty of New Terra, as it came to be known, was a masterstroke of diplomacy and a testament to the collective will for peace. It encapsulated the sacrifices made, lessons learned, and the path forward for two races that had been at war not long ago. The drafted treaty was comprehensive, addressing issues from disarmament to mutual respect, from reparations to integration. It was a symbol of hope for many, a realization to the possibility of reconciliation and cohabitation after such a devastating conflict. The final day of negotiation saw Solane and Varro rise from their seats, treaty in hand. As they stood before the galactic community, they weren't just representatives of their respective races anymore. They were harbingers of a new dawn, an era of cooperation, respect, and unity. "This marks the end of a dark chapter," Solane addressed the council, holding up the treaty, "and the beginning of a brighter one. And let it be known," Varro added, "that from this moment onwards humans and Veritans will stand together, not as enemies, but as allies for a peaceful galaxy." The applause that filled the chamber resonated far beyond the council's walls, echoing through the vast expanse of space, a testament to the resilient spirit of peace and the promise of a unified future. And with that, a new chapter in galactic history began to unfold: disarmament and integration. With the treaty's signatures still fresh, the arduous task of its implementation began. The first step was the disarming of the Veritan military complex, a process that would symbolize their commitment to peace and their capitulation to the terms of the treaty. At the break of dawn, the decommissioning process began. Human and Veritan soldiers, once engaged in fierce battles against each other, were now working side by side. The sight of Veritan warships being methodically disarmed under the watchful gaze of human forces was an impactful image, symbolizing the scale of change that the galaxy was witnessing. Meanwhile, Varro returned to his home planet, where he delivered a heartfelt address to his people. He spoke of the lessons learned from the war, their new commitment to peace, and their plans for the future. His words were met with a mix of resignation, acceptance, and hope for what lay ahead. Parallel to this, a new policy was being set in motion on New Terra, a policy of integration. For the first time in their history, human and Veritan citizens were encouraged to work together, learn from each other, and foster a sense of mutual understanding. The initial days were awkward and tense. Centuries of mistrust and recent memories of war didn't just vanish overnight. However, the shared task of rebuilding and the common goal of peace gradually softened the hardened stances. In the bustling shipyards of New Terra, human and Veritan engineers collaborated on the designs of new starships. In research labs, scientists of both species shared knowledge and worked on innovative technologies. Veritan soldiers began to serve under human captains, offering their expertise and slowly adapting to their new roles. Back on Verita, a similar scene was unfolding. Human delegates arrived to assist in the restructuring of Veritan civil institutions, while human workers aided in the rebuilding of cities devastated by the war. In this atmosphere of cooperation and shared purpose, the seeds of integration were sown. News of these efforts spread across the galaxy, earning both praise and skepticism. Many lauded the brave and necessary steps taken by the humans and Veritans, while others questioned whether such a deep-seated animosity could truly be overcome. Yet in the face of doubt and criticism, the leaders remained steadfast. Solane continued to champion the cause of peace and integration at the Galactic Council, often quoting, "Peace isn't just about avoiding conflict, it's about facing it, understanding it, and then moving past it together." Meanwhile, in the starlit skies above New Terra and Verita, joint human-Veritan patrol ships started their rotations. Watching them glide across the sky, one couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed, and how much more could still change. As the sun set on the planets, casting long shadows and painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, it marked the end of an eventful day. It was just one day in a series of many, each one bringing the galaxy closer to a future that, not so long ago, seemed an impossibility. These days were not without their challenges. Prejudices were not easily forgotten, and old wounds still stung. But for every setback, there were stories of progress. Stories of a Veritan helping a human child fix a hoverbike, of a human saving a Veritan from a collapsing scaffold, of shared meals and laughter that bridged the gap between two civilizations. And so, the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. The process was slow, but the changes were tangible. From the shipyards of New Terra to the gleaming cities of Verita, an unprecedented era of cooperation was gradually taking shape. It was as if the entire galaxy held its breath, watching a grand experiment unfold, an experiment in unity, understanding, and shared destiny. Trials and the Disappearance. As the intricate dance of peace and cooperation continued, the moment arrived to address a darker side of the war, the trials of those Veritans responsible for the atrocities committed against humanity. The Galactic Council, led by Solane, set up a special tribunal. The panel comprised representatives from multiple races, ensuring a fair and unbiased judgment. Chief among the defendants was the Veritan military leader, General Zorvan, a hawkish figure known for his aggressive strategies and dismissive views of the human race. However, just before the trial could commence, news spread of Zorvan's disappearance. It was discovered that the general and 5 Veritan cruisers, manned by his loyal crew, had vanished. The Veritan Council was baffled. Zorvan and his allies had evidently refused to accept the peace treaty and had fled. Their destination was unknown, and their motives could only be guessed at. The prospect of future conflicts with this rogue faction was deeply unsettling. In Zorvan's absence, the tribunal decided to try him in absentia. The damning evidence against Zorvan left no doubt about his guilt. The tribunal handed down its judgment. Zorvan was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. Should he ever be captured, the sentence was to be carried out on a remote prison colony. The sentence was a clear message to the galaxy. No individual, regardless of their status or whereabouts, could escape justice for their actions. The trial concluded, but its ripples would be felt across the galaxy for a long time. It was a cathartic moment for humanity, a symbol of closure, and a step towards healing the deep-seated wounds of the past. Meanwhile, the integration efforts on New Terra and Verita experienced growing pains. Some Veritan soldiers, likely influenced by Zorvan's rebellion, bristled under human command, causing tensions in the Joint Defense Fleet. On the other hand, some human workers on Verita complained about the challenging conditions and perceived slights. Solane and Varro worked tirelessly to address these issues. They held town hall meetings, encouraged open communication, and instituted strict non-discrimination policies. They knew that for integration to succeed, they had to ensure equal respect and dignity for everyone involved. Amidst these developments, economic reforms were put in place. As Varro had warned, the Veritan economy was in shambles thanks to the war. Solane proposed a plan for a shared economic zone between humans and Veritans, which would allow for free trade and joint ventures, boosting both economies and fostering mutual dependence. As the joint economic plan was put into action, the fruits of human-Veritan cooperation began to bloom. The mighty manufacturing infrastructure of Verita, coupled with human ingenuity, led to a range of innovative products. Advanced spacecraft engines were born, along with an array of versatile terraforming tools, testament to the potential of this burgeoning alliance. However, just as progress seemed to be flowing smoothly, an unsettling report reached Solane's desk. A distant star located in the farthest reaches of the galaxy had inexplicably gone dark. This inexplicable phenomenon, naturally unexplainable, caused a ripple of concern to spread through the Galactic Council. The Council convened, the air filled with apprehension. After a thorough discussion, they agreed to investigate this cosmic mystery. Solane and Varro suggested a joint human-Veritan mission, the first of its kind since the peace treaty, to probe into this enigma. However, this plan was put on hold. Another issue was brewing that demanded immediate attention. General Zorvan, the fugitive Veritan general, was still at large. His capture had become the topmost priority, casting a looming shadow over the galactic peace. Every ship, human or Veritan, was alerted and ordered to report any suspicious activity. Zorvan was a thorn in the side of their newly formed alliance, a persistent reminder of past divisions and conflicts. In response to this urgent situation, a special task force was assembled. Comprised of both human and Veritan military elites, this unit was tasked with the daunting mission of hunting down Zorvan. Every member of this squadron knew the stakes. Zorvan's capture was not only a matter of justice, but also a critical step in solidifying the hard-earned peace. The unsettling cosmic mystery of the disappearing star would have to wait, as the focus turned to the immediate threat posed by Zorvan. As they moved forward, Solane, Varro, and the rest of the Galactic Council remained steadfast in their commitment to peace and prosperity. The hunt for Zorvan was on, and they were determined to capture the fugitive general and prove that no force could destabilize the unity they had achieved.